Greetings and welcome to Rauta's take on Burial Hex review. This is a compilation called In Hiding. Now, while the name might suggest some kind of a black metal entity here, or a band for that matter, this is actually something totally different. Coming from Cold Spring label from UK, this is of course non-metallic release, and those who already know Cold Spring what it's doing already can guess pretty much what's going on with Burial Hex here as well. Now, this act has been here since 2004 or 2005, depending on the sources you're reading the information about, and the style is something of called horror music. I will expand that over a little bit, but this digipack is very basic, very simple. There are no booklet for lyrics or such, for rather obvious reasons. I mean, this is mostly instrumental music anyway, with maybe some spoken parts or whatever samples. Here we go for the Burial Hex site on Cold Spring Records, and here it is, says actually founded in 2004 in Wisconsin, United States of America. And this is curious take on the style. Horror electronics to prepare for the final mystery in the twilight of the Kali Yuga. So this is basically what it is, a one-man project creating music that combines industrial to ambient to droney parts, not so much power electronics and noise as sometimes it's the case, but I guess with ambient and industrial and then these horror electronics is enough to really define the music roughly anyway. Of course, like with all music, like all art, explaining it in mere words is just not really doing justice, not doing enough. Of course, you have to hear it in order to understand it. A quick look at the Burial Hex Bandcamp site shows that this act has a lot of different releases out there. I mean, we're talking about dozens. And given that this act has been here since either 2004 or 2005, why I'm saying 2005 is because that's actually what the Bandcamp site says. So whether it's 2004 or 2005 gives you a rough idea what's going on with Burial Hex and what kind of stuff we're talking about. So here it says symbolist musical dowsing in horror electronics. So let's go with horror electronics rather than trying to box it in with ambient, drone, whatever. So In Hiding is a compilation. I think it said something like carefully selected tracks on the sticker that was around the wrapping here. And that's, I guess, pretty much explains why the style changes are so, well, apparent. Featuring quite a lot of tracks that is very much like a typical compilation, almost 70 minutes of music. And these are taken from different parts along the years. They are all explained here on the Bandcamp site. So in case you want to dwell in the information pool, well, go ahead and read it. Musically, this is kind of a mess, but that comes with a lot of compilations anyway. Whether we're talking about traditional heavy metal or more experimental marginal music such as this, things tend to be a little bit all over the place. Of course, there are artists who always take the same path all over again, and this is as much blessing in disguise as it's an insult to the audience. I mean, sometimes we, as an audience, we prefer that Cannibal Corpse is doing yet another Cannibal Corpse album after 30 years of making exactly the same thing. Sometimes that is really, really good thing and enjoyable. When on the other hand, sometimes we really feel that the artist should move on, change the style and challenge oneself and all that stuff. Now, whether you belong one or the other camp or neither or part of the both, it's obvious thing with that In Hiding, there are many elements that some of you will like them all, some of you won't like anything at all, and some of you will like this and that. So it's a mixed bag of goodies, both in good and bad. That being said, sometimes I'm like, okay, this part sounds really, really good. When it comes to horror elements, and talking about specifically horror, dark ambient and such, which is definitely right up my alley and among my favorite styles, I don't really get that horror feeling. Mind you, horror is a very, very personal thing, much like comedy. Some people are able to laugh at one joke and unable to do that for the other. Same thing with horror. Sometimes you watch a horror movie and you're like, okay, this is dull, nothing is happening even though people are dying. It all comes from various, well, angles and aspects and what have you, and same things goes for the music. Sometimes people might feel like, okay, this is very full of horror. I can hear snakes hissing. I hate snakes. I'm scared of death to them by them and all that stuff. And some people are like, okay, well, I'm listening to some, zoological sounds, like they're just goddamn animals. Now, I'm not saying that is exactly what's happening in Burial Hex album. I'm more like trying to explain why or why not albums such as this might not work for you, even for the next guy. It's just the absolute best blasting shit ever. For me, these kind of compilations are more like not so much thank you, because I'm not exactly a fan of compilations. Much like live albums, I tend to feel they're distracting me from the more focused works versus selected pieces, if you will. So maybe I'm not that much of a buffet guy. People who like their Smurgard sports and like, I'm a little bit this and a little bit that, where some people just want to go to the one thing only, focused solely on that one piece of pizza. Then again, if you're like a sushi eater and you like to do a little bit of buffet thing, I like sushi, that is, then you might be really, really enjoyed by this album. That is, there are various pieces, and maybe that is what you need to have in order to be challenged by the various styles and experimentations by the artist. I don't know if my rambling makes much of a sense, because this kind of music is hard to explain like words like this. Once again, it's a compilation of various styles, and even with these various styles, it's, chopped into pieces of more mixed marginal styles. And that alone should give you a little bit of an idea that, yeah, it actually needs some digesting and listening to the various styles, and then you're probably able to figure out which piles or styles are for your liking. So obviously, if you want to immerse yourself into something rather marginal music in experimental sides and from the horror perspective, go for Burial Hex. You will find these links in the description box. But if you feel like, yeah, I'm just a metalhead, I don't want to have anything to do with this kind of stuff, then you move on and wait for the next review to explain what's going on. Or then use your regular searching skills to find the new music. I'm merely to give you some pointers, and of course I hope these reviews will be helpful to you, but if not, well, money back guarantee. Take care, and off you go. I hope you get to enjoy Burial Hex. Let me know in the comments if you do. Bye bye.